Meeting's called to order. Stella, if you'd read the call, please.
Notice of public meeting of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville pursuant to Chapter 551, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code. The Texas Open Meetings Act notice is hereby given that the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, in accordance with Article 5, Section 12 of the Charter of said city, will convene a workshop and regular meeting on Tuesday, November 1, 2005, at 5:15 p.m. and 6 p.m. in the Commission Chambers on the second floor of the Brownsville City Hall Federal Building, located at 1001 East Elizabeth Street, Brownsville, Cameron County, Texas. Workshop Item A, discussion regarding the commitment of local funding for completion of statewide transportation enhancement program project known as the Historical Battlefield Trail and Southern Pacific Linear Park.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Commission.
Larry, welcome.
What we'd like to do, if we can, is begin by giving you a presentation with regard to the linear park as well as the hike and bike trail. Then conclude with discussion with you, and this leads up to what will take place should you so choose to take action on a resolution during the action items of this meeting. The presenters here will be a combination of Mark Lund, Transportation Planner with the Planning Department, myself, former City Planner, also Director of the Airport, and Steve Walker is also here with the Texas Highway Department. Steve is Landscape Engineer.
The real Steve Walker, right, Steve?
Right.
All right. I'm going to start with good afternoon. I'm Mark Lund with the planning. Our goal is for the City Commission to understand all aspects of this project. We need to describe a lot of items because it is a large project. First, how did we get a project? Prior to 1998, the 6th, 7th Street area near the zoo contained an operating, functioning rail switchyard. As human beings, we have a talent for forgetting painful memories, so it is quite logical that we have forgotten what a noisy, dirty problem area that we had at that location. It was both inconvenient and dangerous. The trains would tie up or block traffic, and luckily we didn't have any dangerous hazardous spills, but it was right in the middle of our, on the edge of our downtown. In 1999, the City of Brownsville purchased real properties at 6th, 7th Street from the Union Pacific Railroad Company. The purchase also included a rail corridor that extends to near the new switchyard that was built south of FM 511. With this purchase, which cost about $2.7 million, the City of Brownsville also stipulated that a portion of the proceeds that they get from the city, that they had to use the money to fund their share of the railroad relocation project. That was really the primary purpose. We had a master plan at the MPO of a hike and bike trail, but our primary thing was to get the railroad relocation project finished. And they did follow through. In 1999, we obtained the STEP grant. We obtained approximately $2 million federal dollars. TxDOT administers this competitive program. Other cities did not receive any funds. The acronym, as you know, is Statewide Transportation Enhancement Program. The City Commission, after looking at two firms, decided to go with a team with Wallace, Roberts, and Todd. The trail and the linear park, we have two major components. Together, the city has acquired somewhere between 95 and 100 acres. That makes it one of the largest city parks. It is certainly the longest park because it is some 9 miles in length. The trail serves to connect many neighborhoods to the Palo Alto battlefield, which has or features 3,400 acres of open space. This connection is a wonderful asset for our community. There's the linear park. You can see it's right at the west side of the expressway. And then once you go through some curves near the Vermilion and Boca Chica, it's pretty much a straight shot. The trail is a 12-foot wide paved trail. It will allow for two-way traffic. In other words, it has an asphalt surface. It accommodates bicyclists, walkers, joggers, rollerbladers, as well as skateboarders. It's an especially important project for skateboarders since they have very few legal places in the city that they can skateboard. In the late 1990s, we had a young person, a skateboarder, in the early evening hours get hit and killed on Coffeeport Road. It will be very beneficial that we would have a facility that we can offer as a safe place for people to do all of those activities that I mentioned. This particular slide, it talks about a concrete curb. We deleted that detail. We will use herbicides to keep weeds from getting under the asphalt. Mr. Brown will explain about that a little bit later. There will be a 5-foot clear zone. There won't be any shrubbery allowed to grow up right next to the trail. These views show the rest areas. One of the things I need to mention is that the trail conforms to AASHTO standards. All right, you've heard a lot of acronyms. This may be one to stump you. AASHTO is the American Association of State Highway Transportation Officials.
I knew that one.
You knew that one, okay. Well, it's slowed us down a number of times in conforming with AASHTO. The WRT team member who has saved us time and again and helped us has been.
I was going to ask you, are they here?
WRT?
Whoever the city hired?
Yeah, the Wallace and Robertson Todd.
Okay.
The engineer is here.
They're the design firm.
All right.
But there's a good thing about AASHTO. Even though it has been slowing down us in terms of TxDOT checking for our compliance, it helps the city in terms of liability. In the event that we have an accident and there's a lawsuit, we can say that we have used the AASHTO standards in building this, and those are the recognized standards, so that should show that we've complied and done our due diligence to make it a safe facility. That lowers our legal exposure in that event. I mentioned the trail rest areas. They feature benches. Some of them will have water fountains. We will build the trellises. We will plant vines, and that'll provide shade. And it's something we need. This shows a rest area that's near a city street. Local streets, the trail, for instance, near Galveston Road, you'll have a stop sign. People on the trail have to stop. They would look both ways, and then they would cross with caution when they cross the street. At other locations, State Highway 48 or Boca Chica, Price Road, FM 802, FM 3248, the major arterials, we will have traffic signals. There will be push buttons. People could be in a wheelchair, they could push the button and go across. The BCIC, or the 4B Corporation, they provided something on the order of $400,000 to fund these traffic signals. The city engineer came to your group, the city commission, and the contract was approved, and they're going to start building those signals soon. We're not including in that cost figure the cost share on Price Road. The school district will pay for half of that signal, and in exchange we're giving them an easement for some land. They'll have another entrance to their warehouses, get the trucks out of their parking lot, make their facility much safer. And so we're thinking in that case, we're not only making it safe at the trail, we're also making BISD's facility on Price Road a safer area.
Mr. Lund, excuse me, on the intersection, what is being done other than just stripes? Is there anything being done to the intersection?
There's signage if you're on the trail, so before you even get to the intersection, there's a warning sign in compliance with AASHTO saying, you know, get ready to stop. Typically there's curves that slow people down if you're on a bicycle, because when you're on a bicycle you can go 15 or 20. Before you know it, you could be, if you weren't paying attention, you could be headed for trouble.
But on the intersection?
On the intersection, you'll have the striping on the road, and I believe in many cases there's signage telling people to have caution for crossing pedestrians. But like a Galveston, in that particular location, it's not far from a corner. So somebody, if they were speeding, could come around the corner and, you know, be upon the trail pretty quickly. It's maybe 50, 60 feet from the corner there. So we're going to have to teach people to be careful. You know, but you could be crossing Galveston right now at that same location, and you could get nailed by somebody going too fast. So. This view shows how the trail goes under the expressway, and then it proceeds north. I want to emphasize that this project includes 4 bridges, and where the trail goes over water bodies, either ditches or resakas. Some of them are smaller crossings. We have one bridge that'll require 2 spans to go over, I forget whether it's 150 or 200 feet. It's a huge distance. It's a resaka north of FM 3248. Those are expensive items. They cost $390,000 if you just look at the bridges. The bridges have a width of 14 feet. They'll be prefab items. I should mention that local volunteers, some local historians and other volunteers worked with Doug Murphy of the National Park Service along with city staff on developing interpretive themes, not only about the history of this area, the 2 battlefields, but also our local wildlife, things about the resakas, the themes for this trail project. Doug Murphy and Myrna Palfrey, the superintendent of the Palo Alto battlefield, secured grant monies to build exhibits, some panels that you'll see that'll be given to the city to place for placement in the trail rest areas. We call these items wayside exhibits. Thank you again, Myrna, for your help on this item. And what I'm explaining here is that really the trail is more than just recreation. It is really something that's tied in with the identity of Brownsville. I get very strong feelings about this because I'm very proud to have worked on this. I put in over about 10 years as city's heritage officer, so I had the opportunity to learn about our city. When you travel to San Antonio, if you're from the West Coast or the Midwest, people from San Antonio feel very proud of their history. They take you to the Riverwalk and they show it off, and they are kind of like citizen promoters of their history. And they may or may not take you to the missions, but they'll tell you about the missions. We have something that's just as significant here. Think of all the U.S. states that came into the United States as a result of the Mexican-American War. And we need to educate our young people to be just as proud of their history and to be able to say, okay, when you're near Hibernia Bank on FM 1847, that open area across there is not just a field, that's the Resaca de la Palma battlefield. And then even to learn that the battle area might have been 200 or 300 acres, and we can have a debate on whether General Arista, the Mexican general, whether his tent was at the Dairy Queen or across the street over at the gas station. You know, it's fascinating history, but we need to get the school kids to learn about it and to be promoters. And this trail is a natural tie-in for them to use that as a vehicle. And of course, the Visitors Bureau will want to see this and use it to promote Brownsville. And it gets all the way up to the north, and then we connect and we enter the national park. This slide shows the linear park itself. The trail begins or ends near East Harrison Street by the federal courthouse. It's kind of ending or beginning depending on your point of view. The park development fits perfectly with the city's establishment of the Midi Cultural District. If we list all the organizations that are part of the cultural district, it takes about 5 minutes because there's about 20 groups that are part of the cultural district. And so we won't list them all. All through this process, we've invited the stakeholders from that district and the other areas, other groups that are interested to be part, give us input as to what's been put together in terms of this project. The linear park itself is set up with different uses for different areas. And this is between right there, there's a little subtle click there that shows you the amphitheater, that yellow object. And then we have a paved area around there, and we will delineate on the pavement a different sort of paving treatment with the tile, and that'll give you the outline of Fort Brown, a star. And so that'll get people an idea of some of the history of Brownsville. The squiggly lines are going to be paths, some sidewalks, and those represent in symbolic form the Rio Grande. And then this indicates all the trees, and then you can see the axis that is created right in the middle where the trail lines up on axis with the federal courthouse. All right, let me go back here. I went too far. See the different areas, Memorial Plaza, the Trailhead Plaza, where the trail terminates, the flex space, whether groups want to use that for Sombrero Festival or they want to have other events. That's up to the City Commission. This zeroes in on the Memorial Plaza. We have informally started to refer to the area as the Vela Garza Memorial Plaza in honor of the late federal judges. The retaining walls of the amphitheater will support plaques. Historic plaques are to be funded by the Brownsville Rotary. They will contain the names of fallen soldiers, those citizens from the Brownsville area who gave their lives in serving in various conflicts or wars defending our nation. We expect that the amphitheater will be used for concerts, theatrical performances, also for the swearing in of new U.S. citizens. In that regard, the plaques teach a powerful message or lesson to the new citizens that the price of freedom has been secured by the sacrifices made by these fallen soldiers. Also, I want to state for the record for the members of the public that this area is not a veterans park. The city has another park recognizing veterans, many of which are still alive and well. This area, we should point out that we're going to have benches, we're going to have seating.
Mark, let me stop you real quick. With regards to the amphitheater, and I brought this up at one of the hearings, we want to make sure that that all the necessary infrastructure is there with regards to electricity, power supply, you know, so that we don't have a problem setting up speakers, PA systems, whatever the case might be, especially we're going to be having some performing arts taking place there.
Right. Yeah, there is electrical, and we double checked on that item. Mr. Holdar checked in on what we need on that. The grant pays for the benches. The trees to be planted include palm trees and cedar elms. That creates a two-tier canopy effect. There are some existing oaks out there that we can retain. This is a different area, that flex space. You can see where Dr. Diaz has his office building, the zoo has its parking, the future site of the Brownsville Fine Arts Museum. I know that the zoo and Dr. Diaz, there were parcels that were sold off when it was the Southern Pacific, so those were already in private ownership. The Fine Arts Museum, that's under construction. I know that some of their board members are here tonight. Mary Eddington is their current president. We acknowledge their presence. We appreciate their cooperation in working on this project. Also at Ringgold, you can see the drop-off spots, those little areas there on Ringgold, that's for the buses to pull over and then drop people off. So when we do have an event, it'll make it easier to I should mention also, right on the edge of the screen, you can see where the Neal House is going to be relocated. And that parking area there, that is paid for with the grant. But the Fine Arts Museum, they're expecting that parking will be open when their facility is open. So there's an issue there in terms of coordination. There's two other things I want to mention. We hope to acquire a caboose. I know Larry Brown has been up on a trip to Kingsville to look at a caboose up there. And the reason would be that we would use that possibly as a conversion for use as restrooms. We have an issue. We need to get that issue about restrooms figured out. The other thing is that there's a railroad scale, and that is an authentic piece of the history. They used to weigh the rail cars out there. We've left that intact. We have not messed with it. It will be left alone, and that's where you could put that caboose, is on that railroad scale. And then we could put up a plaque explaining that there was a rail yard there and that they used to weigh the rail cars.
It's the railroad scale on here.
It's right about to the I think to the above the Neal House, and it's right next to the parking.
Oh.
And I think we cut back on the parking to leave, so it wouldn't be hurting that scale.
How much?
It's not. You can walk right past it if you're not paying attention and not notice it. It's right in the ground.
How much do we have in parking?
How many parking? I think it's over 100 spaces.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's well over, it's nearly 200, counting both parking lots.
And especially on the other lot, that can be for revenue generation, either monthly contracts or we can put in meters.
If you go back one slide, you can see the other parking lot that's
Yeah,
adjacent.
that's the other parking lot. That's 74 cars.
Parking lot, right.
4 of them are handicapped.
Okay.
And then here I read 61 cars and 4 handicapped.
Right there, right.
I'll try to go through this quickly. This shows the area. You can see some Bretta festivals are already in that flex area. I haven't heard anything about the plant nursery. We had a discussion with UTB about using that area to grow plants. TxDOT, when they do the expressway, will do that area where you have to cross 6th and 7th Street. So that is going to be a construction zone that'll have to be done later. I'm going to show you the section cuts. This shows AA, and this is if you're on 7th Street and looking towards 6th Street. This is if you're on the steps of the federal courthouse and you're looking over in that direction, and then the one below, I believe, is looking further to the east, as if you have the amphitheater to your back and you're looking to the east towards the expressway. This is looking back at the federal courthouse several years ago. This shows the amphitheater. I'd like to mention that those are not the final colors. I'm not real fond of those colors. Those show the plaques.
Yeah.
And there'll be a sprinkler system irrigation to keep the grass in good shape. I want to mention some things that the terms of the grant do not allow the city to simply cut out major elements. We can reduce some items. For instance, let's say we wanted to cut down on the number of rest areas. We could do that to save some money, but we just cannot simply eliminate all rest areas. We said the spirit of the grant is that we said we're going to have rest areas, we're going to have rest areas. You couldn't completely eliminate the amphitheater. If you did, you would forfeit the federal money of the grant. Second, the city staff, we examined the amphitheater design to look at the possibility if work could be done on it by a city crew to possibly save us some monies. We run into 3 different problems with that sort of scenario. First, the amphitheater work overlaps the work on the other base materials, so that affects or limits the contractor's control of the project area. Contractors are usually very reluctant to do that. Second, there is electrical work specified, so you get into a choreography issue of where the city would stop and then where the contractor picks up with the electrical. And then there's a third issue, its potential issue, is that meeting the requirements of the testing that TxDOT requires and the field inspection. We're not saying that the city crew is not capable, but we haven't dealt with TxDOT on that particular role, so we're a little reluctant to predict that we can save money. We recommend that we go with the use of a TxDOT contractor as a preferred alternative, although the final choice obviously is yours. This shows in the other direction. Oh, I went too far. All the way back to the beginning, I guess. Anyway, you see all the canopy, you kind of are going all the way through. Thank you, Robert. I think that was my screw up, not his. I'm going to turn the presentation, after we see that last image, over to Larry Brown. It's where you're looking east, and there
Right.
you are with the trees all grown up.
Basically before and after.
Okay.
Right.
Yes, good.
The next part of our presentation is about how we propose to get it done. By that I mean to finance and build the park and trail. Okay. First of all, to give you a little bit of background with regard to where we've been, where we're at, and how we got to be here. First of all, a set of bids was opened by TxDOT in December of 2004. There was a decision was made to reject those bids because of not only the cost, but also concerns with regard to the contractor capacity. We followed up after those bids were opened in efforts to modify the plans and specifications for the project for the purpose of cutting the cost and bringing the project into line with the budget. That involves such thing as eliminating curbs. If you recall, Mark mentioned earlier one of those slides where it was shown to have a curb beside the trail. That's on both sides of the trail, so that represented 18 miles of curbs. That represented about a $500,000 cost in terms of just the concrete for those curbs. Second, looked at replacing a limestone-based material for the roadway with caliche. Third, took out about 3,800 linear feet of trail by installing signals at FM 802 and 3248. The original design would have had the trail actually being pulled back at the intersection with the major street, pulled back to where the existing light was. But through the help of the BCIC in terms of assistance with funding and so forth, by putting those signals in, we actually were able to save some money and take out 3,800 feet of trail. Those amended plans were then finalized and the project was rebid by TxDOT. TxDOT received bids from 2 contractors. A third contractor was disqualified, although we believe it probably would have been the low bidder. The results of the bid opening were the TxDOT engineer's estimate prior to the bid opening represented the project at $3,127,684. That was just about 36% under what the actual bids came in at, as received by TxDOT. There were 3 bids that TxDOT actually, packages that they actually received. One bid was by Foremost Paving. The cost is represented there, or the bid. Second, there was a bid by G&T Paving. Again, the amount was there. And third was a bid potentially by H2O, but because of some paperwork problems that they had, that bid was disqualified. That raised some issues for staff to have to deal with, and quickly. First of all, that represented a potential cost increase of $1,940,035 over and above what we had in the budget. And second, we had 48 hours within which to issue a check for that amount and get it to TxDOT, which we could not legally do. First of all, we couldn't get to the City Commission that fast, let alone put together how we're going to do that.
Why was that requirement of 48 hours on there? Was that on the bids, on the specs, or what?
No, it had to do with when the Highway Commission's meeting was going to be following that. That's the bottom line. So that made it impossible for us to do that. The actions that have been taken since that time. First of all, a letter has been transmitted from the city to TxDOT asking that they reject the bids. Second, we've held several meetings with TxDOT personnel to follow up on the issues, again, contained within the plans. Some of the options considered, including, for example, our experience with TxDOT. Our experience with TxDOT is we have already seen TxDOT personnel gear up and go through the process associated with designing this project and bidding it out. If we were going to take that responsibility onto ourselves, we would in effect be paying a second time to do that. Second, testing materials. City staff, if this were to be city built, city staff would again have to go through the same process that TxDOT is geared up and experienced to do. Third, if there was an option to drop the federal funds out of this project and do it ourselves, the problem we get into is it would no longer be the same project. For example, we wouldn't have sufficient funds to be able to do several things contained in the project. We would also most probably have to cut the trail short from where it is presently proposed. Also, costs would be incurred by the city to hire a full-time inspector, which would be required by TxDOT when they'd be looking over our shoulder. Our recommendation in summary to you is that TxDOT be authorized to bid a third time, okay, with more cost reductions. Some of how we arrived at this recommendation is by talking to the bidders themselves. We found areas, for example, where the additional cost reductions could be made by modifying the plans to be very detailed. For example, within the set of plans, there is a provision calling for miscellaneous concrete. When the bidders saw the miscellaneous concrete, they naturally bid high because they weren't exactly certain what they were going to be doing. What we propose to do is come back in, modify the plans to tell them exactly what we want. And frankly, this involves such things as benches. We propose to use the same benches that are used in the streetscape project downtown. That should save us considerable amount of money.
Larry, could we do this with an RFP so that we'd be in a position to negotiate after? Because with bids, you know, we don't have that option.
No, it's a federal project, so it requires.
It has
us
to be
do
bid?
competitive bidding.
Right. The current cost estimate for this project, and this is based upon the bids, the latest bids that have been received. But the bottom line is, the bottom line that you see at the bottom, okay, is an additional funding amount of $1,940,035. How do we propose to pay that bill? Okay, first of all, there is existing in the bank right now, and Mr. Gonzalez can verify that, there is existing in the bank right now approximately $500,000 that we can use to offset a portion of the cost of this project without issuing of any additional debt. Second, we propose to you, and the resolution that is on your agenda for action tonight actually would implement this. The issuance of $1 million CO, Certificate of Obligation, for $1 million. Third, the cost reductions we've been discussing through refinement of the plans, and we anticipate $300,000 to $440,000. We also propose so that since we can't tell exactly how much the bids would come in at, if the City Commission sees so fit so that there's some flexibility, if the bids come in with within say 5%, and that represents $97,000, 5% of that amount, should you choose to authorize it and so forth, that way the city manager is authorized to tell TxDOT go to build the project, okay? And that would basically be contained in the authorization should you act to pass the resolution tonight. We'll be happy to address any questions that the commission may have.
What's the time frame for the third set of bids?
60 to 90 days in terms of award by TxDOT.
And how soon can you get the bids out?
About 30 days.
Well, we
Yeah, I'm talking about where we've got a set of plans, we've turned it over to TxDOT.
Right now, you don't have that because you want to make some changes to it.
Actual construction.
Further refinement, that's correct.
Yeah.
One, sorry.
And Mr. Holdar, who is here this evening, the engineer for the project, will be doing those refinements.
Before the bidding goes out.
Any questions, commissioners?
Very well.
All right.
Where's Pete?
We would like to conclude, if we could, very briefly with the commission, and I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce Myrna Palfy. Myrna is the superintendent for Palo Alto National Historic Park. This trail will end at the visitor center parking lot within Palo Alto National Park. Myrna, if you would.
Thank you.
Welcome, Myrna.
30 minutes. Myrna.
Good evening, Mayor Trevino, city commissioners, city officials. As he said, my name is Myrna Palfrey. I'm the superintendent of Palo Alto Battlefield National Historic Site. Approximately 1 year ago, the National Park Service's Rails and Trails program held a community involvement meeting here in Brownsville for the hike and bike trail. And during this meeting, several committees were established. One of these was the Interpretive Committee, made up of employees and volunteers from the National Park Service, the City of Brownsville, Texas Parks and Wildlife, the Brownsville Community Foundation, and the University of Texas in Brownsville. And this committee focused on selecting several sites of significance throughout the route encompassed by the hike and bike trail, with the purpose of installing wayside exhibits to help inform and guide trail users. Now, the Interpretive Committee collectively identified 8 sites of significance. And with consultation between the committee members, Park Ranger and historian Douglas Murphy developed the text, selected the artwork or the pictures, and prepared each of the 8 panels for final production. The 8 wayside exhibit panels, along with the installation hardware, have arrived, and I've brought 2 of them, as you can see here, as a sample of their quality and excellence. And it is my privilege to present these to the City of Brownsville.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Short recess.
That pretty well concludes our presentation this evening. I would mention one thing to you. There is an action item on your agenda related to a swap of easements. As a result of the work that we've been doing with regard to the trail, what you're going to find is there'll be immediate start, if you choose to pass that, there'll be immediate start of a construction of a Starbucks restaurant, which will actually take advantage of the trail as a part of its overall development. So people will have an opportunity to go to Starbucks, have a cup of coffee, or go to Vermilion and have something else. Okay? That's the end of our presentation.
Nachos.
Nachos. Nachos.
All right. We're ready to begin. I'm going to ask 3 very special people, young people from Brownsville. Jacqueline Ramirez, a 5th grader at AX Benavides Elementary. Andrea Ramirez, a 4th grader at Palm Grove. and Amanda Ramirez, a sixth grader at Perkins Middle School, who are going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Step forward, ladies.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas.
Honor the Texas. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one and indivisible.
Come here, girls. Wait, don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. Come here. Who's Andrea? Here you go. Amanda.
Thank you, girls. You did a good job.
The family that pledges together stays together. Do we have anybody here for the invocation? No? All right. Well, since our in-house pastor's not in, I'll go ahead and lead us in the invocation this evening. If you please bow your heads for a moment of silence. Lord, we ask for your guidance over all of the elected officials and city employees and directors during tonight's meeting. We thank you for allowing us the opportunity to get together for the betterment of our citizens. We thank you for the participation of the public that is here this evening. And we most graciously ask for your continued support and blessings over this city as we continue to move forward. In his name we pray. Amen. Number 1, proclamation, National Lupus Awareness Month. Who is here to receive that proclamation? Anyone? All right. I hope, is it for November or is it for October? Is it for October?
May.
Well, let's go ahead and read it into the record.
I'm sorry,
then.
it's November.
It's November? All right, then we'll reset it for the next meeting. Presentations, Veterans Park Project, we have something special, Mr. Skip Keller. And we also have some special guests with us. We got even more special guests, Mr. Chris Patterson. I understand you'd like to introduce some special guests with us this evening.
Yes, I do. Mayor, Commissioners, once in a while I get the opportunity to introduce people, and this is very important to introduce Mr. Frankie Turia. He has a special presentation for us. And as a veteran and as a parks manager, I'm really excited about this venture that we're getting into. And no further ado, Mr. Ituria.
Welcome, Mr. Ituria. And also visiting with us this evening is Commander Raul Leal. Commander?
Commander Leal.
Last time I was here, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, you will recall it was to promote the Veterans Park for Brownsville. But at that time, when I was here, I told you that I, for one, being a veteran of World War II, and a veteran of Korea, it had always been my desire that the city of Brownsville recognize those men who went off to war and some of them who never came back. This was the guiding light, though. This fellow had the staying power to get this thing done. But the last time I was here, by the way, of World War II veterans, there's 1,000 dying a day. 6 million veterans, I hope I'm the 6th millionth to go. But at that time when I was here, I told you that I thought so much in this project, I wanted to donate $50,000 to the Veterans Park. And I have right here a certificate of the Valero Energy Corporation, whose stock, 500 shares of stock, is now worth $53,000. And I want to have the pleasure of presenting this to the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Ituria.
Thank you.
Well, for the sake of the entire city of Brownsville, Frank, we hope you and Mary are with us for many, many years. we thank you so much for this gift. We thank you for your commitment and for your efforts in helping us get to this point. Commander, I think you'd probably like to say a few words on behalf of Mr. Ituria, because he was very instrumental in getting this park off the ground.
On behalf of all the veterans, not only of Brownsville, but all the veterans that are serving right now, are coming back from serving, and the ones that are serving, which will be our future veterans, I'd like to personally thank, on behalf of them and myself, I'd like to thank Mr. Frank Ituria for the generous contribution toward the dream that we had a few years back, which has finally come to reality, thanks to you all, the Commission, Mayor, and thank you for backing us on this wonderful project. And we'll see you at the park pretty soon.
Very good. Thank you very much. Mr. Ituria, thank you again, and may God continue to bless you and your family. Employee of the Month, November 2005.
Mayor and members of the Commission, please help me in welcoming our Employee of the Month for November, 11th month of the year. We have one more to go before we select the Employee of the Year at our Christmas party. J.D. Garcia is an Equipment Operator 2 at the Brownsville South Padre Island International Airport, and he's been with the city for 10 years. In selecting J.D., Larry Brown, our Airport Aviation Director, has complimented him by advising that he is a very loyal employee, willing to do anything he needs to do at the airport to get the job done. He helps us with other employees in training and helping them learn their role in the work performance of their duties. He is considered a very positive employee asset to our city, and displays a good work ethic and a role model for his fellow employees. So JD gets the pin of the Employee of the Month pin, which he can wear any day he wants. The cap. Thank you. And the plaque designated him Employee of the Month for November. And of course, he qualifies for the Employee of the Year in our banquet. So, JD, I'm sure he has some words for you, and Larry will, of course, take him to lunch tomorrow.
Thanks. After 10 years, well, I think I deserve it.
Thank you for
Thank
10
you,
years.
JD. Thank you for 10 years.
Item 3, consent agenda.
Item 3, consent agenda items A through D.
So move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Longoria, seconded by Commissioner Nettles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 4.
Item 4, consideration and action to appoint 5 members to the City Audit Committee.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Commission, this item was discussed at our last City Commission meeting. This is an item that our independent auditor has recommended that we appoint members to an audit committee, and we're recommending that we appoint 5 members, and of those 2 members to be the finance director and the internal auditor.
So that would be yourself and
Jose Chavez.
Mr. Chavez, okay?
And I know from the last audit committee that the city had several years ago, we had the finance director, the mayor, and some other commissioners, along at that time also with the city manager. The auditor, our independent auditor, has recommended that we include at least those 2 people, the finance director and the internal auditor. And now we're asking you to appoint the other, well, all of us, all the.
I
all
have
the
one
5.
appointment.
Let me let you know, Pete, I'd like to serve on it. If the mayor has served in the past on the audit committee, I'd like to continue to serve on it. And I think it would probably be a good idea to have Mr. Cavler also serve on the audit committee. So that would make 4.
Can we do both appointments at the same time, or one?
We can do all of them, right?
I wanted to make that motion to appoint Mayor Eddie Trevino and Charlie Kabler to the board.
And Mr. Gonzalez?
And Mr. Peter Gonzalez and Mr. Jose Chavez.
All right, that's 4. Any,
Mayor,
Commissioner Arroyo?
I'd like to
Commissioner Arroyo.
I would like to serve.
I'll appoint.
Okay, all right, well, then why don't we just
And
add,
Sally Arroyo.
why don't we just add Commissioner Arroyo to Mr. Cisneros' motion?
Yeah, I just
All right.
needed one more, so I'd like to appoint
All right.
Sally Arroyo,
So,
Commissioner.
motion by Commissioner Cisneros, seconded by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Pete.
Pete?
Item 5.
Item 5, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 235-2005-058 to rezone from dwelling A classification to apartment A classification, .038 acres out of Lot 2 of Block 1 of Valadez Mercado subdivision near Rockwell Drive and Scheidler Street.
Honorable Mayor and City Commission, the property is here shaded in red. We can see this. This is a proposed site for a apartment complex of no more than 8 units. This is Scheidler Street and Rockwell. This is Rockwell here. The Plan and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to approve this recommendation to you tonight.
All right, this is a public hearing.
Motion to close.
For motion to close by Commissioner Arroyo, seconded by Commissioner Longoria. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner
Second.
Camarillo, seconded by Commissioner Arroyo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 6.
Item 6, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 235-2005-059-S to allow a light commercial specific used car lot in specific use used car lot in a general retail use district for Lot 12 of Block 6 of East Brownsville addition near Southmost Road and 17th Street.
Honorable Mayor, this is the lot here for an expansion of a car lot that's already existing. They're going to the additional lot. This is Southmost Road. This is 14th Street and 18th Street on this side. The Plan and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of this application.
Any questions? This is a public hearing.
Move to close.
Motion closed by Commissioner Longoria,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Longoria, seconded by Commissioner Cisneros. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Item 7, consideration and action to adopt resolution number 2005-038 to authorize the commitment of local funding for completion of the statewide transportation enhancement program project known as the Historic Battlefield Trail and Southern Pacific Linear Park.
Mayor, members of the commission, I believe you have a copy of the resolution.
Where's
that is
Pete?
before you. Pete's over here.
Come back up here, Pete.
Right.
Now, is this resolution just to move forward with the project, or does that does it obligate us with regards to any shortfall in funding?
Basically, what you're doing is giving authorization, aside from supporting the project, giving authorization that people will recognize to potentially go as a part of the package, a part of the CO issuance package. That would give Pete the authorization to include this project as a part of it. The
All
bottom
right,
line.
Pete, can you give us your,
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Commission, in other words, what we're doing here is we're committing the city to issue an additional $1 million in certificates of obligation to fund this project. And in the past, you have already approved reimbursement resolutions of the following: $5 million for street construction out of the general obligation bonds. You've also approved another resolution to acquire right-of-way properties for 511 for $775,000. The commission has also authorized right-of-way acquisition of $300,000 for the 7783 project and $760,000 for the remodeling of the city plaza. So all of this, you have already authorized us to move forward and issue either bonds or certificates of obligation. The other project that we have not, even though we have mentioned to you in the past, is the $6.6 million project for the financial system and wireless system. We could call it different enterprise modernization project that I believe the IBM representatives, our consultants, have already discussed this project with you. So all of these commitments, except that one that has officially been approved by the City Commission to issue new debt for the coming fiscal year of 2006.
That's the amount of debt that we're issuing this year. What's the total on that?
Well, there will be some other requests
Right.
that I will probably bring to you at the next City Commission meeting.
And with regards to the payment issue, or repayment issue, do you feel comfortable, if need be, in issuing this additional $1 million in debt for this, to complete this project?
Going by historically what we have done in the past, we have issued debt. We did not issue any debt during fiscal year 2005, but during the past few years, we have issued between $13–15 million because of our growth in the property values. We have been able to service the debt without raising the tax rate. Now, we do not have those numbers tonight as to what kind of an impact this will have on our tax rate. That will come to you at a future date, which probably be the following meeting that we have. We can, I'll go ahead, we prepare a list of what we intend to issue, and we will have a schedule prepared by Estrada Hinojosa, our financial advisors, letting us know what kind of an impact this additional debt will have on our tax rate. But right now, I can say that the tax rate will remain the same.
Mayor,
Commissioner.
is it, in the interest of time, and I know that, you know, this is a very important project to a lot of people, would it be safe to say that if we tabled this matter for the next meeting, get the information that we need on what that's going to do to the debt we're going to incur, so that we may make a better decision on this and not be stuck having to make other arrangements later?
I agree with that.
Specifically a tax increase.
Is there a problem with delaying this by a couple of weeks? I mean, we didn't have this issue before when you bid it the first or the second time. So my druthers would be that we bid it, we continue that process, and then we figure out how we're going to address this shortfall, and that gives us more time. I can tell you that this commission is not going to look favorably upon any tax rate increase. So, but I think let's do that.
Go
So
ahead.
why don't we?
Commissioner Longoria, you want to make that motion? I'll
Have a
second that.
motion to table by Commissioner Longoria, seconded by Commissioner Cisneros. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 8.
Item 8, consideration and action to approve budget amendment resolution number 2005-039 to amend the general fund, airport fund, and the motor vehicle parking system fund.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Commission, this budget amendment calls for budget amendments in 3 funds: the general fund, the airport fund, and the motor vehicle parking system fund. Under the airport fund, we need to acquire much needed mower equipment that's approximately $13,355, and this is something that the airport needs. If they don't do some of their mowing, they may be subject to fines from the FAA, so it's very important that we get this equipment. Plus also, they're also in much need of a copier, $14,995. So the budget amendment for the airport is $28,350. Since the airport does not have the funds available, we are going to need a transfer from the general fund of the same amount, total $28,350. The other item that we are requesting is again a much needed van for the motor vehicle parking system personnel for approximately $21,000. The motor vehicle parking system fund has enough funds in this year to cover this additional expense. Again, we are requesting that you approve this budget amendment resolution.
I wish they were all this good.
Yeah, Mayor, I know that the airport needed this equipment. We had discussed that at some of our airport board meetings and with the director, Mr. Brown. And because of that, I'll move to approve.
All right, we have a motion approved by Commissioner Betancourt, seconded by Commissioner Nettles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item. Thank you, Pete.
Item number 9, consideration and action authorizing Taylorcraft, a Texas corporation, to enter into an amended lease agreement for additional space with the City of Brownsville, Texas Department of Aviation.
Mayor, City Commissioners, as you recall, Taylorcraft presently leases 43,200 square feet of what was formerly the Neoplan building. What is proposed is amendment to that lease so that Taylorcraft would lease an additional 22,800 square feet. The reason being has to do with the expanded capacity of and also expanded orders that they have for planes. Just so that you'll know, the first aircraft of Taylorcraft is actually done. We anticipate that tomorrow afternoon at about 2 o'clock you can see it fly. Okay, so Taylorcraft already has an employment base of 15 people, all but 2 of which are from Brownsville, and Brownsville people are producing planes. Okay, so Taylorcraft needs the additional space so that they're able to expand into it to meet those additional orders that they have. It's a standard form lease and so forth. It does generate additional lease revenue for the airport and the city.
Congratulations on leasing. I move to approve.
A motion approved by Commissioner Arroyo, seconded by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. We should have called this a Larry Brown meeting. Go ahead, Larry.
So it works, why not? Okay.
Let her read it.
Item 10, consideration and action authorizing ASTC LLC doing business as Allied Skills Training Center, a Texas corporation, to enter into a lease agreement with the City of Brownsville, Texas Department of Aviation.
Again, within the former Neoplan complex, a firm called Allied Skills Training Center has a lease and was requested a lease from us for a relatively small space, but I think potentially a very significant one, about 4,840 square feet of space within the Neoplan building. You may ask, what do these people do? What they do is train welders, okay? Typically about 8 to 10 welders at a time. These are welders that, one, can be employed by Taylorcraft, for example. Taylorcraft is very interested to meet their additional production in terms of skilled welders, trained welders. Also, this outfit trains welders that are employed by AmFels, okay? And there are other good possibilities in terms of where people that are trained by these folks can be employed. This 4,840 square feet represents to the airport an annual lease value of about $8,712 annually, but even more important, that has to do with the fact that there's a synergy that will be established by having people within this complex of building training welders that conceivably can be employed within the same complex. Okay?
Larry, and along with this lease, I just have to mention this, all safety issues are being taken into account as far as we don't want Taylorcraft and this company.
I understand. What we've made provisions for, and we've gone over that, we've had meetings with both Allied Skills as well as Mr. Ingram from Taylorcraft. What we've done is make provisions to separate the access points, for example, of where people go and from this particular point. We've also made sure to have both the fire department as well as the code enforcement people go over to make sure we could get a certificate of occupancy issued, in other words, dealing with the safety issues for this particular space as well. So we feel comfortable it's going to work.
All right. Thank you, Larry. This is an action item.
Larry, thanks for your, certainly, thanks for your leadership over there in the airport. I know that some of those buildings that were formerly empty are being leased.
Yes,
and we're getting some good businesses coming in, and we hope to continue that, and based on that, I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Commissioner Betancourt, seconded by Commissioner Longoria. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you all.
Item 11, consideration and action to authorize HNTB Amendment Number 13B for additional construction materials, observation and testing services on runway 17-35, South General Aviation Ramp Rehabilitation, and runway 13R-31L Blast Pad.
Mayor, members of the Commission, the purpose of this amendment is to authorize, under the terms of HNTB's umbrella contract, additional engineering work that is engineering and testing work that is associated with a project that's presently under construction. As you may recall, we have a blast pad under construction at one end of the main runway, plus we have an infrastructure project called the GA Infrastructure Project that is under construction south of the tower. The GA Infrastructure Project is designed to establish 2 pad sites with all the infrastructure, the water, sewer, the parking, the ramp paving, and so forth, to construct 2 new hangars, okay? This engineering work is necessitated by the present work that is going on in terms of those 2 projects. This is 100% funded by the FAA, with FAA funds.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Commissioner Arroyo, seconded by Commissioner Longoria. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item.
Item number 11, consideration and action to authorize HNTB Amendment Number 16 for bidding services and preparation of construction documents for the demolition and removal of existing hangars associated with the extension of the air carrier ramp.
Once again, as you may recall from the airport's master plan, the master plan for the growth and development of the airport, particularly in terms of the terminal expansion, would have us demolishing 2 old hangars, one of which dates back to the 30s and is largely composed of frangible chrysotile asbestos, okay? We have the funds available from the FAA right now to demolish those 2 old hangars. Those 2 hangars that are demolished will be replaced by new hangars that we are going to build on those 2 pad sites that I just referred to that are literally under construction, okay? This is for additional engineering work, so we complete the final set of plans, ready to bid documents, and go to bids to demolish those 2 hangars.
Move for approval.
We have a motion approved by Commissioner Nettles. Second by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item.
Item 13, consideration and action to authorize HNTB Amendment Number 17 for preliminary investigation services to address distressed pavement on Taxiway G.
Taxiway G is a primary taxiway that allows for movement of, for example, cargo planes and so on and so forth to and from the air cargo building at the airport. Taxiway G has been experiencing a couple of problems having to do with portions of it where we believe there is an old drainage pipe that was underneath that taxiway, and it appears as though it may be collapsing. So what we've had to do is close off portions of Taxiway G. This work that is to be done by HNTB looks at designing the solution for the problem. It is to be paid not only the engineering work but also the construction cost 100% with funds from the FAA.
Well, obviously, we need to fix it, Larry. So I'll move to approve.
Second.
Move to approve by Commissioner Betancourt, seconded by Commissioner Nettles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 14.
Item 14, consideration and action on an easement agreement with N3 Development Limited for an exchange of easements relating to the construction of Starbucks and the hike and bike trail.
Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, this is an easement agreement between Starbucks and the City of Brownsville. They're allowing us to use this piece of their property, and we're not allowing them to use this piece of our property. We need a property for the hike and bike trail, and they need our property for the parking on for that Starbucks restaurant. We recommend approval.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Sorry?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, we have a motion approved by Commissioner Nettles, seconded by Commissioner Longoria. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion
Starbucks.
carries. Get your coffee cups ready. Item 15.
We want Starbucks.
Item 15, consideration and action to award a contract for the purchase of 16 handheld radios for the Brownsville Police Department.
Honorable Mayor and Commissioners, at the request of our Police Department Chief Carlos Garcia, the Purchasing Department has solicited proposals from the Houston-Galveston Area Council of Governments for the purchase of these 16 radios. Inasmuch as HGAC has satisfied the state bidding requirements and have existing contracts with the proposed equipment with the recommended vendors, the city may make these purchases through our interlocal agreement with HGAC. Our recommendation to you then this evening is your consideration and action to award a contract for the purchase of 16 XTS 5000 Basic Model 1 handheld portable radios with encryption for the Police Department to Motorola Inc., San Antonio, Texas, and the total price, including HGA's fee, $57,369.60.
It's important to point out that this, the funding for this will be derived through a grant which has been received from the county jointly with the city of Brownsville.
Make a motion to
Questions?
approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner Nettles.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor? All opposed? You guys have to speak up, okay? Everybody seems to be on low this evening. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Item
We're almost
16,
done.
consideration and action to award a contract for Capital Improvement Program 2005 CIP, Streets and Drainage Improvement Contract Number 4.
Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, at the request of our Engineering Director, Mr. Lastra, Purchasing Department solicited formal sealed bids for this project. These bids were opened on September the 7th. A total of 3 bids were received and tabulated by the project's consulting engineer as well as the city staff. Our recommendation to you this evening is to go with the low responsive bid, G&T Paving. The amount of this bid is $653,304.08. I think Robert has some photos of some of those streets. If you would like information on...
I was trying to see the streets on the...
They're in La Posada 3.
Is this part of the La Posada? Okay. Didn't
The
say
back
anything.
section, La Posada 3.
Any other questions?
We just have we have the commitment from Mr. Gonzalez as per the insufficient, what was that?
The letters and the.
So that agreement is on there, right, Paul?
Yes. The parties involved with this situation are in agreement. We're still standing by our recommendation to go with G&T Paving in this particular bid.
I'll move to approve.
Was there a problem with this?
There was not a problem. There was a question by one of the bidders as to a particular additive alternate amount submitted by G&T. It was a misunderstanding. We seeked a clarification from G&T. We received it. We found it to be justifiable and favorable. It had to do with when the paving company goes in and if they do some breaks of sewer lines and whatnot, as they're doing the street construction, they are obligated to do the repairs of those breaks. The consulting engineer in this instance, in this bid, asked for pricing to do those repairs. One of the bidders submitted individual unit cost pricing. The other bidder, being G&T, originally indicated no bid under that alternate. It would be illogical for us to consider a no bid on that because this is a very minor, small cost component. So we inquired as to what their intent was in stating no bid, and they said simply that their intent was that there would be no cost to the city should they do any breakage, because they have always historically made those repairs. We don't have any issue with that.
Jim, that's...
Yes, sir.
Saw your email, and everything's fine with regards to your advice.
I believe so.
All right. Commissioner, did you make a motion to approve? Commissioner Longoria, motion to approve, seconded by
David.
Commissioner Hernandez. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
All
you.
right. No public comment? All right. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.